Ever since UFC president Dana White lost all that weight, he's developed a newfound joie de vivre, an invigorated pep in his step that wasn't there before. And this sudden overabundance of energy has mostly been used for two things: telling everybody how John Jones
is the pound for pound best fighter in the world and the greatest fighter ever, period.
And how PowerSlap is actually the greatest thing since
the deal that I just cut for Slap is bigger than the UFC deal we cut with Spike TV after the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. I don't give a what the media says about it. Not only is it unbelievable money-wise, it's been unbelievable as far as social media goes. We're #1 in all of sports.
Wow. More than like Real Madrid or like these soccer teams?
I don't know about the soccer teams, but I would say yes. It's a $750 million business.
Yeah.
Crushes it. It's the most successful thing that I have ever been a part of in my career in such a short amount of time. This will be the biggest sport in the world. This will be bigger than the UFC.
If you're a rational person, you may be wondering how that's possible from a sport that looks like it belongs in the truck stop strip club. And in this video, I'll break down why its potential for growth is hugely overhyped by fluky social media numbers and misleading claims, as well as why this sport is much more dangerous than both MMA and boxing, in addition to being just flat out stupid. So with that said, let's begin at the beginning with the brief history of PowerSlap. Slapping competitions have been around for a very long time. I remember watching videos taken at bars as a teenager, usually involving a collection of heavyset men or women competing for a prize of about $500 to $1,000. And that's not too far off from what professional PowerSlap competitors currently make. But it really took off in 2017 with videos from Eastern Europe that collected millions of views by going viral on social media platforms. These were usually poorly filmed and produced compilations of brutal slap knockouts between competitors that sometimes seemed like they weren't anywhere close to the same weight class. And Dana White claims that these videos were what initially planted the seed for PowerSlap in his mind.
This thing started in Russia and Poland. That's where I started to see this stuff coming from, and I was fascinated, and I started to watch it, and I started to dig deeper and take a deeper dive into it, and I was looking at some of these numbers that were coming out of Russia and Poland. 350 million views on YouTube and stuff like that.
Seeing the attention they garnered, he believed that with a more polished and professional approach, this could truly turn into something big. There was one recurring competitor that stood out above the pack and garnered the most attention by brutalizing everybody that he came across. He was a Siberian native named Vasily Komotsky that was nicknamed Dumpling for his impossibly stocky appearance. Dana hasn't come out and said this, but I feel like the real reason why he became so obsessed with slap fighting are the videos that were made about Dumpling's journey by YouTuber Penguin Zero.
It's been well established that the universe is infinitely expanding, but I'd argue expanding is the wrong word. You see, I think the universe is running away as far as possible from one man, Vasily Komotsky, the God Hand, the slap that could overthrow empires. Vasily Komotsky is the hardest slapping organism in the entire universe, I'd wager. We don't have like a tournament of power Dragon Ball Z style that we can run to test for sure, but I'm just going off of pure instinct saying that I don't think anyone has the pure carnage in the palm of their hands like Vasily does. It's incredible, and I'm happy to say in the newest slapping tournament, Vasily Komotsky makes a triumphant return to the battlefield, defending his title as the world's premier slap god.
Due to how amusingly passionate Charlie came across in his videos for such a weird thing, they went extremely viral and introduced a lot of people in North America to slap fighting. But it would take 5 years from that point for PowerSlap to officially be established as a company in 2022. The first season aired on TBS under the name PowerSlap Road to the Title. It holds a very respectable 4.5 out of 10 star rating on IMDb with 6 reviews, where even the 2 positive ones are somehow still negative in their content, with quotes like, "Sure, these guys are getting CTE, but frankly, after seeing some of these guys' personalities, they may be better off as vegetables." The episodes would be led in by AEW Wrestling, an attempt to recreate the magic of the first Ultimate Fighter being led in by Monday Night Raw. But in spite of that, the ratings were very low. The first episode opened up with 295,000 views, placing it in the 45th spot for the night. And on week 8, the season finale became the least watched episode of the season with 220,000 views, placing it in the 106th spot. Needless to say, it was not renewed for a season 2, which Dana attributes to a change of management at TBS, pointing to the fact that it was beating the Conor McGregor-led Ultimate Fighter in ratings. Of course, that season of The Ultimate Fighter also had extremely disappointing ratings that saw a drastic decrease in views every single week, probably because Conor McGregor cared much more about where he's getting hammered that night than bonding with his fighters. But I suppose he did them a favor the one time he got belligerently drunk at the Fighter House.
Come on, why you go tomorrow morning? You're looking for that. And then there I am, click, clack. My ex-bike on the attack and that rock all over me.
After not being able to attract another television deal, PowerSlap moved to Rumble. Now for those that don't know, Rumble is a Canadian video sharing site that is a direct competitor to YouTube. And a lot of creators and pundits use it. It's definitely a viable option, but it's kind of like the CFL and the NFL. The two aren't really in the same league. With that said, according to Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovsky, PowerSlap is a key part of their website. In fact, it became the catalyst for creating their sport division with their partnership with Barstool Sports. And through his efforts, Dana White has been able to get it sanctioned in Nevada, California, Florida, and Texas. And as of 2024, this is where PowerSlap currently is as a sport, and is probably where it will stay. I'll get to that in a bit, but first let's talk about why it's obviously extremely and irresponsibly dangerous. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, also known as CTE. This is a condition that most are aware of, as it has been widely publicized over the past several decades. It's linked to every sport and activity where reoccurring head trauma is present, which naturally includes boxing and mixed martial arts.
I was 7 years old when I had my first fight, so I was taking punches since I was 7. It's a rough man's game. It's like a brutal game. You want to stay strong. You want to show like you're not hurt. You're a big macho guy. No. But that's how you think when you're younger. Well, I'm diagnosed with the signs of CTE. It's terrible. It's like, it makes you nauseous almost. It's like just a thump in the back of my head, the side. And you just feel like drained all day, you know.
Which Dana claims are more dangerous than PowerSlap because athletes sustain many more hits over a longer period of time. But if we look at that statement logically, it becomes clear that it's absolutely ridiculous. Because one of the primary goals of both MMA and boxing is to avoid taking punishment. There are many fighters that have never been knocked out or even dropped because of how good they are at avoiding damage. Whereas in PowerSlap, taking damage is unavoidable. You're literally not allowed to defend yourself, and every single blow you take is thrown with the worst of intentions. These aren't little jabs that they're getting touched with, they're trying to knock each other out with every single hit. And despite the name, these aren't slaps, they're palm strikes, which are just as damaging as punches. In fact, Bas Rutten preferred them to traditional strikes.
Bas Rutten was the first guy who figured out how to really f people up with palm strikes. And what he did is he has really flexible wrists. So he learned how to pull his hands way back, and he would just throw them like punches. He would just do the same motions that he would do with a punch, but just smash guys with his palms. And he was lighting people up like a Christmas tree in Pancrase with that. It's horrific to watch. He KO'd a bunch of people with his palms.
But you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to what this doctor has to say about it.
In slap fighting, there is no defense. You literally are not allowed to protect yourself. And so what you get is basically just two people trading concussive blows for one another. Right off the bat, a slap sounds like a very benign thing compared to the world of typical combat sports. But a lot of slap fighting is actually this, basically an open-handed punch where if you strike somebody with more the hard bones of the wrist or the carpus, is really no different than just punching someone. Your wrist bones sit right underneath this lower portion of your palm, and so if you make contact with someone's face, striking with that portion of your wrist, it's not a slap at all. It's essentially equivalent to an open-handed punch. I mean, look at this one from their promo video. This is absolutely not a slap. This is just hitting somebody with the hard palm of your hand. That certainly is enough impact that it could be causing concussions with every subsequent blow.
In other words, there is no way to avoid brain trauma in the sport. Even if you do it once, you are guaranteed to get injured. And CTE is absolutely horrifying. It's essentially early onset dementia, and it completely debilitates people.
Can you get a job, or do you feel that there's no job that you'd be able to do?
I could get a job, but I'd forget I had the job. What happens, I find, is when I have many things in my brain at one time, where somebody shoots me this, and shoots me this, and shoots me this, my brain forgets. I truly, honestly believe if it wasn't for the pills that I'm taking, my life would have been done a long time ago.
You think you may have?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you have?
I would have taken my life as, absolutely.
you would have yourself.
Absolutely. Mental disability is a huge thing. It's got me crippled.
The former head of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Stephen Klubeck, who sanctioned it initially, has come out and said that doing so was a mistake. And it's also condemned hard by Chris Nowinski, the co-founder and CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation.
A situation is happening that has never really happened in any real sport before, which is somebody can just wind up and hit you with an unprotected hand. You know, just because it's your palm doesn't mean it's not your arm and the bones in your hand striking somebody.
But besides being dangerous, it's also just stupid. There's no depth to it at all. It's not a sport, it's a game, and it's not even a good game. It's a drinking game at best.
Should we play whiskey slaps? Yeah!
As Bob explained when he challenged Dana,
as an average person that turns on the TV and I watch PowerSlap, I'll tell you what I do. I watch match 1 and it's the same. I watch match 2, it's the same. I watch match 3, it's the same. And I watch 4, it's the same. Somebody gets slapped in the face and they're done. That's it.
Tell me what's the same about each match you watch.
Somebody raises their right hand, they then make direct contact with somebody's face, and then somebody either falls or they don't. That's it.
And that's 100% right. Whether or not you're good at this is almost purely determined by intangibles and not skill. There's no strategy. It's all about how well you can naturally take and deliver a blow. How thick is your skull? How heavy are your hands? It's like taking turns hitting your hands with a hammer to see whose bones break first. It's not impressive. It's simply idiotic. What makes boxing so great and why they call it the sweet science is the insane level of strategy and IQ that's involved in it. The feint battles, the slight reads and movement of the body and facial expressions, the traps constantly being set, the mid-fight adjustments that separate the good fighters from the great ones. If boxing was just about taking turns punching each other in the face as hard as you can, then the top fighters would look very different. And it's the same with mixed martial arts. The fact that you can neutralize a striker with the threat of the takedown, the chess match like battles for position in order to secure a submission, it's all about strategy. Now let's break down why PowerSlap's supposed growth is kind of an illusion, and not only will it not be bigger in the UFC, it probably won't be that successful in general. The social media following that PowerSlap currently has largely been built off of short clips like TikToks, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And the type of audience that is developed with these clips is almost never committed to the actual brand. It's much easier to get millions of views with YouTube Shorts, for example, and many channels do. But getting the audience accrued from those views to watch any kind of long-form content fails 9 times out of 10. And if you think about it logically, it's very easy to understand why. People watching these clips just want a brief moment of entertainment, maybe a meme to send to a friend, but that's where it stops. For example, a less than 1 minute video of an insane car accident could have more than 100 million views, but less than 1% of the people that watched it will go back to that same channel to watch a 20-minute video on the dangers of driving, for example. Nor would a sport where the objective is to get into car accidents become more popular than the UFC. And speaking of the UFC, the 10 fastest finishes in UFC history currently has 9 million views on YouTube. But a lot of the fighters that delivered those finishes probably wouldn't even get 9,000 views on their next interview or get 90 people to buy their merchandise. What I'm trying to say is those types of views don't really build up your brand, and as anybody that has dealt with short-term content knows, they're barely monetizable. Of course, people want to see other people get slapped. It's a shocking moment, but they don't care about the people actually doing the slapping. Lane Viernes, or the Crazy Hawaiian, is probably PowerSlap's most recognizable face and biggest star, and he's struggling to hit 60,000 followers on Instagram. Dumpling, who I mentioned earlier in the video, is probably the most famous slapper in the world and has been around for years. In fact, Dana White recently recruited him to PowerSlap in order to help it, and he can't even break 200,000 followers on Instagram. And keep in mind, the official PowerSlap account has 5 million followers who clearly could not care less about what's actually going on in the sport and just want to watch short clips of people getting slapped. And if you look at the comments on the actual clips, almost none of them are positive. They're all just talking about how stupid it is. And if you go to YouTube, the view to comment ratio is extremely suspicious. For example, here's a video with almost 2 million views and less than 1,000 comments. Just for context, using my channel, I get a similar amount of comments on the video with 80,000 views. And on Rumble, it's even worse. Here's a video that's over 500,000 views with 45 comments and less than 300 likes. I mean, this is content designed to be shocking and elicit strong emotions, so where's the engagement? Either those numbers are fugazi or this stuff is just straight up boring and people just put it on in the background as they're cleaning their house. So my question is, how does this generate money? It's held at the apex, so it's not like there's a huge gate. The merchandise sales can't be good. I mean, who walks around in PowerSlap t-shirts other than the people competing in PowerSlap? And short form video content doesn't make a lot of money. So how in the world could this have possibly been appraised at $750 million? Are they planning to sell the apex and a couple of Dana White's houses along with the sport? To be honest with you, I don't think this sport has any value at all. And this brings me to the end of the video. If you stuck around this long, thanks for watching. Comment your thoughts down below. Also, I just opened up memberships on this channel, so if you want to get early access to my videos or a nice cool badge next to your name when you comment so you can show everybody that you're better than them, hit that join button on my channel or just hit the link in the description to this video. Thanks.
Slap fight people aren't my kind of people. And that's okay. I'm not putting you down, but you know what I mean by that? Like a certain kinds of people, like a guy that goes to the pet store and he comes home with a snake and then he wears the snake like it's a scarf. No problem. You haven't done anything wrong. You're not my kind of guy. The guy that goes and gets a pet tarantula and then catches mice and likes to watch his tarantula devour the mice and then tell everybody, well, it's about the food chain and he's got to eat some. No, but you're not my kind of